Welcome to the Simple Switch podcast, where you'll join me, Rachel, the founder of Simple Switch, to talk about conscious consumerism and positive impact purchasing. Spending our money in a way that helps our planet and the people on it can be complicated and frustrating, and we're passionate about bringing ease to your journey. Join us as we demystify big ideas about conscious consumerism and hear from amazing business owners using their work for positive change. Thanks for being here, and enjoy the show. Hey listeners, today we have Brad Jeffrey. He's the co-founder and CEO of CAUSEGEAR. I'll let him tell you more about it, but thank you so much for being with us today, Brad.
Oh, it's great to be here.
So we're going to start with basics. Who are you? Where's your company located? And where does it have its impact? And what do you make or sell?
Yeah, so we're Chicago-based social enterprise, and this is where we are. Our focus is to help people that are victims of extreme poverty and slavery, and we're doing that through fashion, primarily bags and accessories, backpacks, tote bags, that type of thing.
Yeah, and you guys have some. One thing I really like about your products is they're very on trend, so people don't have to go well out of their way as far as something that they would buy already. That's something we value a lot for Simple Switch, because we know that every time we can remove a stumbling block like that, it helps you guys make your impact. So appreciate you guys make some gorgeous products.
Oh, it's great to hear you say that. That was one of our guiding principles in developing the company.
Oh, good.
That we really wanted to be very on trend and connect with the average consumer and make the point that you don't need to sacrifice quality and design and price.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that is so true. And I think there's a growing awareness of that. So thanks for contributing to that.
Okay.
Tell us about how CAUSEGEAR got started as a founder. You know that story inside and out.
Sure, love to. And it kind of fits into what I was just saying. I was in business for quite a while in a very different industry. And really, I found myself wanting to do business that had more significant impact on the world, not just transactional business. I was in an industry that we're doing some good work in that, but it wasn't a humanitarian type of value. And I and then later my wife too, we both wanted to do business that made a difference in the world. And the area that we became very passionate about was this topic of slavery and poverty. And when you look at it and you go deep and you try to understand this topic and you go travel the world and you see the extremes of poverty and then you learn about slavery and you hear that slavery is at an all-time historic high of 40 million people. Yeah, it just rocks you. And you can think about it intellectually, you go, wow, that's just horrible. But then when you get down to the grassroots level and you see why it's happening, what's going on, you see the level of corruption that drives it. There's actually more money made in slavery today than Google, Starbucks, and Nike make combined.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a striking statistic.
It is.
Oof.
So it's this dark, profitable machine. And so that topic alone is really kind of the big picture thing that we wanted to do something about. And then so you look at a big behemoth problem like slavery, and then you start to analyze it and go, okay, what's it a symptom of, or what's the root cause? I'm a big believer in, if you really want to make a change, you've got to do some root cause analysis.
Absolutely.
And get to the core. What's driving this? And yes, we hear about human trafficking, and there are cases where human trafficking, which is a type of slavery, is connected to maybe runaway teens or someone that's got mixed up in the wrong situation and found themselves in prostitution and then was trafficked. Yes, those happen, but that's more the exception. The majority of slavery is a symptom of poverty, and it's poverty in faraway places. So 90% of slavery and poverty is really in Africa and Asia. 40% alone is in India.
Wow.
One country, and it's 3x versus any other country. So,
Wow.
so you go, okay, slavery's crazy, it's big, and 40% is in India. And then you start looking at India's poverty. And so that's what happened. So my wife and I, Catherine, we traveled a lot. We saw poverty, the depths of it. And it was on a trip for me in Kenya, actually, is where it really kind of gripped me. I was in the slum of Nairobi. It's called Kibera. It's the largest slum in Kenya. It's said that there's a 500,000 people in the size of 1 square mile,
Wow.
which is hard to fathom. Open sewers, just really horrible place. And it was there that the business model just really hit me hard. I was meeting with some women, they're really girls, that were HIV positive, and they had been left as damaged goods by the people that abused them
Mm.
and made them pregnant. They already had kids, and they were infected, their kids were infected, and they were just trying to survive. And they
Yeah.
were making kind of typical handicraft jewelry from bones from the garbage, dog
Mm.
bones, cow bones, who knows. And it was, it was not bad quality. And they were telling me that they're doing pretty good. They're making $3 a day. And the average person in Cabera was making $1 a day.
Mm.
And they were really trying to be positive, and they asked if I'd buy their jewelry and sell it. And I said, sure, I'll buy some. And I started to ask them, I said, so what do you really need? Is this $3 really, really enough? And they said, well, no, we really need more. And they admitted that maybe $7, $8, that kind of range would be really transformative in their life and allow them to really care for their children and have a sustainable lifestyle. And
Yeah.
it's that when I started thinking about that, and so what hit me, and I'm like, what if jobs were created what if we could provide jobs for women like this in the poorest, most unjust region of the world, making high quality fashion that we really wanted as consumers that was competitive? Could that be done?
Totally.
That was kind of the question mark. And at that time, this was 10 years ago, um, the what I would call cause purchasing was really taking off, where you would go to different stores, and for every purchase someone would want to ask if you want to donate to this cause or that cause. and
Mm.
and Tom's shoes was really taking off at that point, was really big. And millennials especially were showing that they really wanted to buy things that were tied to changing the world or changing
Yeah.
circumstances. So I saw that trend. I said, and I started to do reading and research around this, and knew that the millennials were going to be the generation that was going to make a difference in the world in terms of social impact, and they valued it more than anybody.
Definitely.
So I thought of what kind of products would they want to buy, but more importantly, what's working, what's not working. So if if slavery is a symptom of poverty, then we got to work on the poverty problem, right? And then what would they make, and how much would they have to make? And I think the other thing that was kind of like um, driving this for me personally is I was a little bit irritated by the default in my mind, and maybe I'm wrong, but it appeared to be that the default solution to poverty was aid.
Mm.
Aid in the form of food and clothing, shelter, water. Basically, giving people those necessities. So you're hungry, let's get you food. You
Yeah.
need clean water, let's get you clean water. You need shelter, let's build you a house. Now, not that those are bad things. That's a great thing. I mean, someone's hungry, we better feed them today. But that's not the sustainable solution.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
the more research that I did, if you do the research, you'll see that the World Bank, who tracks all this, has recorded that over $1 trillion of aid has been given to sub-Saharan Africa over a 26-year period.
Ooh.
Yeah, and most of it comes from the United States. And poverty has really been pretty flat during that
Mm.
time. It hasn't really
Yeah.
changed. Now, they'll tell you that the percent of poverty has gone down dramatically. So if you look at the numbers from a percent standpoint, it looks like we're winning the war on poverty.
Mm.
But there's still 750 million to a billion people, roughly, depending on which numbers you look at, that are in destitute poverty, and that has been pretty stagnant.
Wow. And like you're
Um,
saying, I
yeah.
mean, that aid, even if it is a short-term solution, that's short-term changing those numbers. It's not sustainable. So I'm
No,
totally with
no,
you
and
there.
kind of a simplistic way to talk about it is, okay, if aid's the model, then we basically have to sign up for a permanent aid
Mm,
machine,
yeah,
and I don't
forever.
think we
And I
all
mean,
want to
that's
do. Yeah.
very expensive. And I mean, it's not dignifying to the people receiving it or giving it.
No, no. And then I started to look at the fashion industry, and if you look at the fashion industry, um, South Asia, which is basically India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, that region, Pakistan, is the fastest growing fashion region for production.
Mm,
Bangladesh, India are the leaders in growth. Uh, and and the reason that the industry is growing there is because labor is cheaper there than China. The World
wow.
Bank the World Bank defines poverty as living on $1.90 a day or less. Well, when I did the research, it appears that the average minimum wage, or what's typical of a wage in the fashion industry, is actually at poverty levels.
Mm, wow.
So we can't aid our way out of poverty if our consumption of fashion, which is one of the largest industries in the world, is feeding the problem.
Definitely. Yeah, as opposed to contributing to the solution.
Yeah.
So you guys saw that. I mean, I think that's really, really wise. And I love to hear that you guys did that research. You went and saw what is the root cause of this thing that we see? Because it's so much, the reason that not all aid is bad. I'm not saying all aid is bad, but the reason that some of that unnecessary aid happens is that people just want to slap a solution, more or less a band-aid on something before figuring out what is the root cause of this and how can we make a real difference. So yeah, how do you feel like, you were led to start what you did start and um, based on that?
Yeah, that's you make a really good point, and I think we have to be transparent. I can relate to that convenience factor of I want to change the world, I want to do good, but if it's not convenient and clear to me, I don't know if I'm going to do it on a regular basis, right?
Absolutely. And
And
sometimes, I mean, it's the best intentions, but sometimes
yeah,
there's just ignorance about where that root cause is. And
right,
if you see, oh, I can give them some food, that will be a great way to handle it.
right.
And I mean, those intentions are beautiful and absolutely, worthwhile, but it misses so much.
Exactly. And I think it's overwhelming too when you
Yeah.
think about it. And I think let's give Tom's credit for the fact that they simplified a model that said, I can buy something and impact lives all in one transaction.
Yes.
And that was, I think, what I saw as the beauty in that model, and it impressed me.
Totally. And
Now
they popularized it too.
they
So
did.
many people
Yeah.
talking to me about Simple Switch say, "Oh, like Tom's shoes." And for those of you who don't know why we're referencing Tom's, they have actually made some amazing changes to this, but they got called out because of this exact thing that we're talking about. They were a buy one give one model, but that give one kind of contributed to this unsustainability of aid in a very different way than maybe government aid would. But they have made some big changes in where they're producing the shoes and the way that they're giving. And I hope that they'll continue to do that. But just for you guys who don't know why we're referencing
Yeah,
them.
exactly. And Blake, who founded the company, had really good intentions, and there's a great podcast of him talking about it. And
Absolutely.
they've shifted their work to actually create jobs in some of the regions that they're giving shoes away.
That's cool.
But they kind of led the way, and so what we want to do is take it to the next level and make an easy transactional experience for the consumer to impact a life far away. And so
Mm.
what our current slogan is made free. And so when you buy a CAUSEGEAR, or our other brand is called Made by Free Women, when you buy one of these two products, you're actually helping someone become free from the injustice of slavery and poverty through a dignified job.
Yeah.
So we're trying to create that transactional simplicity with a message that's measurable and people can relate to.
That's awesome. Oh man, yeah, I love y'all's company. It's been really cool to read into more of your impact. So you guys work primarily in India, and that's obviously, from what you've said, an incredible place for you guys to be basing the majority of your impact. Do you have any specific anecdotes from the impact side that have been particularly striking to you or that you would want to share?
Um, yeah, I think one of the things we have to be really careful of is not simplifying it too much, too. I think
Totally.
we can get real idealistic when you live in a privileged country like the United States, and we can be idealistic. I think we got to be really careful. I have to continually remind myself that to really understand someone's play, you've got to come alongside them and be with them as much as you can. And
Absolutely.
so my wife Catherine and I, we travel to India about every 6 months and spend about
Mm.
2 weeks there. And every time, it's just a great reminder of the privilege that we have in the United States. And um, so I just think that's something we have to be really careful of. Is to maintain. Remember, it's complex, and though we need to do simple things and be tangible about it, though let's think of the dignity and honor of different cultures, different religious groups, and all that, and just be really open, you know,
Yeah,
to
definitely.
other people.
One of the reasons I wanted to bring you on the podcast, I asked, a few of our partners to kind of help get us started with our launch. And I've, from working with you, have kind of just realized that you are such a thoughtful entrepreneur. And I think, pretty much everyone in our industry is doing a great deal of thought behind the impact. But I really see a focus for you specifically. And this, I think, has to do with your company, but also your personality. And you can tell me if I'm wrong. But just in the research and in just really doing a deep dive with every decision that you're making. So it's cool to hear just your style of thinking around this, as opposed to someone who maybe has done it a little bit more out of that kind of story idea, or maybe the more emotional side of things. And both are valuable, but it's cool to get a good mix.
Well, thank you. It's always a learning process. Making
Yeah.
failing fast. I'll say that.
Definitely. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that later. We say iterate often. That's our version of fail fast. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And any customers that you have talked to who've been particularly impacted? I think this this idea of this type of purchasing, it goes both ways. You're able to provide the jobs, but also the way that people who are buying the things are impacted often shouldn't be overlooked.
Exactly. And yeah, a couple things. So one of the big surprises or breakthroughs for us is to engage businesses in our product line. When you look at uh, the consumption of things that we make, like bags and backpacks and accessories, the biggest purchaser besides the general population is businesses. Businesses buy, as we all know, they buy swag for conferences or
Yeah.
for their
Oh yeah, you
employees.
guys have a lot of brandable items on your site, right?
Yeah, pretty much everything could be branded. And
That's cool.
but what one story I'll just tell you about is one company in Chicago that is probably the leader in stand-up desk technology. It's called WorkRight. And
Cool.
actually, well, they have an office in Chicago and they have an office in California. They're an innovator in their own right. One of the things that they're innovating now is with us in the type of conference bag they use.
Hmm.
So they were like a lot of companies and just did kind of a typical conference tote bag that was a great bag. It had lots of features and it was nice and all that. It was, very useful bag. But their employees really resonated with our social impact message.
Yeah.
And they kind of took it upon themselves to, petition the management to say, hey, why don't we look at switching out our bag to something that really has a strong social message and has tangible impact.
Hmm.
One of the things we do with our corporate clients is we actually measure what we call days of freedom that they provide.
Oh, I love that you guys do that. Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so a day of freedom is a day of a really good life-changing job.
Hmm.
And one of our simple products, which is just a natural tote, canvas tote bag, uh, every 20 bags provides one full day of freedom. So what we do with our corporate clients is, depending on how many bags they buy or how much they partner with us, we actually tag every bag with their total days of freedom that they
That's
provided.
very cool.
And it's a way to measure their social impact, but also to create a message out to their employees, their clients, their associates, that we care about this. And freedom is important, and we're partnering to do something about it. So
Awesome.
they came to us and said, we want to make a long-term investment in freedom. We don't want to just buy some totes for this conference coming up, which is next week here in Chicago. It's called NeoCon, which is the premier commercial design trade show at the Merchandise Mart. And we want bags for that conference, but we want to look at 3 years. And we want to make a commitment to a significant number of days of freedom. So it was less about the tote. It's a great bag. But it was about the impact and the message. They also went to their marketing team and said, we want to print something unique on this tote that is not typical. So they went to their marketing people and said, come up with a cool design for this tote and forget everything we normally do about branding. Don't think about our brand. Don't think about our typical messaging. Just let it be, make it an open canvas, a blank canvas. And they came up with this really cool abstract drawing of a woman's face. It's beautiful. And with this Days of Freedom message tied into it. And they actually came up with more than one drawing. So they're going to do like a series of bags around freedom.
Oh, awesome.
Around freedom.
I mean, if you think about, that's what I love about working with companies like yours and really all my partners. I'm so lucky with who I get to work with. But not only are you making, those one-off impacts from, people who might buy your products on Simple Switch or in other places, but you're actually inspiring other companies to be the kind of companies who care about this kind of thing. And at that point, it kind of transcends the products, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, it's been really exciting. We're really excited about the whole project, and what the cool part is that the employees are really excited, and it affects. There's actual practical impact because not only are they doing good things, but it improves the performance of the employee teams.
Yeah,
they're more motivated.
Totally. Yeah, you mentioned millennials. Just being, I'm a millennial myself, and as an entrepreneur, reading tons of research about this. There's just so much that said that this kind of business is not only amazing, for the planet and for the people on the planet, but just for business in general. I mean, our generation and Generation Z as well, there's all sorts of research about caring about that kind of thing as we're consuming.
Right.
But also for, if you're going to get the best quality workers, you want to have this kind of thing woven into, the breadth of your company. Because yeah, like you're saying, I mean, people are just so much more engaged and it matters so much more to them. And then you're going to get, get better work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's cool. So cool. Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, you mentioned this a little bit already. So we'll just touch on it, but one of our brand values is ease without apathy. So, how do you feel like CAUSEGEAR makes it easier, or we say more winsome or more appealing for people to use their purchasing power for good? And how do you feel like you can engage people with the stories behind your products? So having that ease without giving up on that engagement.
Right. Yeah, well, by design, that was a really important part of building our brand and our company, was that what I felt was missing in this ethical space, if you want to call it a fashion, was that I felt like people had to make a choice between the product they really wanted or the cause they wanted to support.
Definitely.
And I felt that really limited the growth. And if we're really going to impact the world for good, we've got to be competitive with mainstream brands.
Definitely.
And I also, when you look at disruptor, so we have to be a disruptor to mainstream brands. That was kind of the first thing I thought about. It's like, so then you study disruptive companies and why they're successful. And you can point to Apple or Starbucks or Sam Adams beer, which basically invented the craft brewing industry. And you can look at these companies, go, why? What did they bring? They brought new value, and they had a quality offering that the consumer really wanted bad.
Yeah.
So if we're going to compete with these major brands out there, which is a lot to do, but we're going for it, you know. So the way I look at it is, and also when you look at successful companies, a lot of times they make incremental improvements. They don't, even though we think of them as radical, they really aren't that radical. So like Starbucks did not invent the coffee shop. Okay, they didn't invent good coffee. They didn't invent anything. What they did was they took an existing thing and they tweaked it. They took the European coffee experience and created a repeatable, franchisable, or their own store experience.
Yeah.
But nothing is new, but it's used differently. Okay. Apple hasn't invented really much. They've just done things really well, and they're better.
Yeah.
You know, they packaged well, and they create a better customer experience.
Definitely. And people are often, I mean, that allows people to still feel comfortable with the experience. You know, they don't have to take a huge leap,
right.
But they can, really be impressed. And there's so much more brand loyalty there when you're doing stuff like that.
Exactly. So with that in mind, I thought of, okay, what are the products out there? What are the brands that people love to buy? And what we try to do is replicate their product, but bring that incremental improvement of social impact.
Absolutely. That's great.
So when you look at our products, you'll I'm not going to name brands, but you'll look at our product and go, that's very familiar. I've seen something very similar to that in other brands.
Yeah.
And it's priced about the same. And it's a bag that I already buy or I already like.
Yeah.
But this one helps people become free.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that makes a huge difference. I remember around Christmas time, I had some people reach out to me, which this happens fairly often, saying, do you have this kind of thing? Because I'm looking for it. And I know that Simple Switch sells these kind of things. So I was able to point them towards a lot of your products because it was something that they were already looking for. And I mean, on a consumer and on our side, right, that's so much easier because a consumer isn't wanting to get bombarded with advertisements for things that they will never need. But, getting the opportunity. I'm reading Seth Godin's book on marketing right now, and just presenting opportunities for what they already want, but better, is so much more of a wonderful model than pushing things that people don't already need. So I love that that's baked, in from the beginning, like you said, into your business model.
Yeah, thanks.
So another brand value for us, we mentioned earlier, is iterate often. So that's our version of fail fast. We know that in our industry, as we mentioned, with companies like Tom's, like I said, I'm not trying to throw them under the bus, but it was really important that they took that feedback when they realized that the impact they were making maybe wasn't ranking highly in sustainability, to make those shifts. So we think it's really important for us to, when we're receiving that feedback, whether it be from our partners or the artisans making things, or when we're learning new things about the environment, to really be open to making those shifts. What is an example for you guys where you had to pivot or change something, and how did that affect your business?
Yeah. So we have a couple examples. I have a couple, but I'll just give you one. One of the big trends in our industry is people question raw materials, the sustainability side from a raw material standpoint. So we were developed to be to help people come out of poverty and slavery, right? That's our main mission, or to reduce their vulnerability to that.
Yeah.
Well, we found that most of our customers are also big environmentalists, and they are very interested in other social issues. So the environment and sustainability on that side. So we're social sustainability is our primary.
Absolutely.
We've had the environmental sustainability as a secondary, but it's become more and more important with our customers. So one topic that seems to get a lot of discussion is leather. Okay, so leather is a very popular material in our industry. I mean, you can have one opinion or another. The fact remains, majority of people buy products that are made from leather or have some kind of leather on them. Yes, there are some leather alternatives out there, but it's a complicated topic. So one of the discussions I get into people is like they say, well, why don't you use vegan? I say, what do you mean by vegan? Well, not animal. Okay, what are our alternatives? Well, most things that are considered vegan aren't necessarily all good either. So one of the most popular quote vegan products is products that come from recycled plastic or rubber or virgin rubber or plastic. Now, when you look at those industries, there's a lot of hazards. So where does plastic come from? Petroleum. It's a petrochemical. Rubber, petrochemical. Oil. So people aren't crazy about that either. They don't want to support the oil industry.
Mm.
So it's complicated.
Yeah,
At
absolutely.
the,
And every choice, I mean, just the fact that you're thinking about those things, I mean, puts you far and above a lot of companies who will never even choose
Mhm.
on purpose those
Yeah.
things.
And so when you go down that path of leather or leather alternatives, one of the things that we wrestle with too, that's been a real hard topic for us because our primary mission is to help create jobs for people. And if leather is a product that the general consumers, the mass market buy, we don't want to miss out on the opportunity to sell a product and not create a job, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
jobs are number one, and we want to be competitive in the industry. So if the mainstream brands make leather tote bags, for example, so one of the brands that we compete with, they have so many different cow leather bags, and we're trying to compete with them. So we have to have a cow leather bag. So what it did though is it forced me to do more research around this topic, and the more I looked into leather, um, I found that actually there is, I think, a good compromise. It costs more, it's harder work, but we're going for it. So this is a big pivot for us. So when you look at the leather industry, particularly in Asia, uh, there's different factors in leather. Leather's complicated. But the biggest environmental issue around leather is leather is a byproduct of cows or buffalo that were raised solely to create leather. Okay,
Mm.
um, or leather could be a byproduct of the meat industry, which is discarded. The other thing and so we do work in India, and everybody always think, well, India, whoa, wait a minute, cows are sacred. How do you do leather in India? That
Mm.
becomes a big discussion. Well, here's the fact: cows die eventually, and the history around Indian cows is that quite a while back, I don't know the exact time, maybe 150, 200 years ago, the Chinese approached the Indians and said, "What are you doing with your dead cows? They're just rotting. They're not being used for anything." So the Chinese created the leather tanning industry in India from the discarded cows.
Interesting.
And so, and then there's different processes around leather. There's vegetable tan. There's semi-vegetable tan. There's 100% vegetable tan. So vegetable tanning is a more environmentally responsible process that doesn't use chrome in the tanning process, which is hazardous. So long story short, we've over a 3-year period of researching and working with the tanning industry, we have secured a relationship with a Chinese tanner in Kolkata, India, who is an environmentalist. He has a green factory. He catches all his rainwater for processing. He only uses discarded um, cows that were going to be from the meat industry. They're going to be wasted anyways. Uses 100% vegetable tanning process, and
Wow,
he,
that's
and
really
he,
cool
and
to
he
hear.
uses the best tanning leather he can find. So we are in the process of converting all of our leather over to eco-friendly vegetable tanned, recycled, if you want to call it, um, cow leather. It,
Very
it's
cool.
also biodegradable. Vegetable tan leather is biodegradable,
Oh,
and
great.
the other is not. But there's a cost, so it's about a 50% increase in raw materials.
Wow.
Yeah, but we
But I
it's
think,
important.
like you're saying,
Yeah,
the customers who are coming to you a lot of times, care deeply about that. So
yeah.
it's cool to be able to see that. And yeah, that's kind of one of the things that we try to do, and this is at a pretty small level now and we hope to grow it, but being able to give feedback to our partners about things that our customers are asking for. So what you said is a great example where we have some companies that have a really social focus, but maybe haven't thought as much about the environmental impact of what they're making.
Right.
And sometimes they have thought really deeply about it and
Yeah.
have had to make certain choices. But other times, just the fact that we can say, hey, our customers would love to see you transfer to compostable packaging, or less packaging.
Right.
And that's easy for them to say, oh, if the demand is for that, of course, there's very little opportunity cost for us to do that. So yeah, we're really thankful to get to be kind of in between sometimes in those things and help those interests kind of come together.
I'll add one more thing around this whole environmental, just this important piece is that the second largest polluter in the world is fashion.
Yeah.
So really, actually, the most effective thing we can make is to buy less things and keep them longer.
Definitely.
So we offer.
We've had a campaign of, don't buy from us. And people are, what?
Yeah.
And Patagonia did something similar. Don't buy this jacket. And we do think that's really important. We never want to be a company that's encouraging you to buy more stuff. We just want to be a company that's encouraging you, the stuff that you are going to buy, the stuff that you decide that you do need or that you are already going to purchase, choose to purchase that from a company that's making this positive impact. Right. And that's why we talk about positive impact purchasing, which you guys obviously do and have touched on. But yeah, very cool. Why did you choose to hook up CAUSEGEAR with Simple Switch?
Aligned values. I mean, I think that's become evident through our talk today. Is that we're totally aligned in our purpose and mission as to why we're doing what we do, and it's just a natural fit. So we're really grateful for groups like you who help us, be the conduit for the general public in a lot of ways. We need you. We can't do this alone. So just everything you stand for is just an enhancement and complementary to what we're working on. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I just can't say enough how thankful I am for companies like you who do the really hard work to make this happen. And I am constantly thankful for the companies that I've gotten to meet, people I've gotten to talk to, and then the fact that we get to, help. We're working on something right now where our customers will be able to see through our site the type of impact they've made. And I really love hearing about your Days of Freedom program because that reminds me a lot of that. So we'll have them be able to sign into their account on Simple Switch and graphically see this is the impact that you've made through your purchase. So, you planted this many trees or you did give Days of Freedom through CAUSEGEAR. I just love that our models are similar in that, and we love to learn from you guys in the way that you've done it for years.
Oh, likewise.
Do you have a personal favorite product from CAUSEGEAR? And if so, why do you like it?
Oh, man.
When you have a product offering as big as yours, this one can be tricky.
I'm kind of waffling between two products. One's a very simple product, which is our belt. I mean, a lot of the products I've designed, basically all of them, and I've designed them for sometimes, mostly if I would want to buy them and use them, kind of selfish reasons, but I think I represent a lot of what our buyers want to. But our belt is just a very simple, thick, high-quality leather, indestructible belt. And so it's the only belt I wear, and it kind of goes with everything. The other product is fairly new, and that's our roll pack. I created the roll pack because I saw it trending, and people it was a popular design that other brands were doing. I said, "Well, we better look at making one." And I didn't think I would be that crazy about it, but it's turned out to be my favorite pack because it opens up so big. You can just open up the top, and you can just it's a big bag when it's open. And
yeah, I love that. And that helps so much with travel and stuff. I actually, usually when I ask this question, I pull up so I'm looking at it right now, and it's just a very cool design. And you're right, very trendy, and it's so practical. I mean, how could people not like it?
So yeah,
awesome.
That's and I took it to my last trip to India. I brought it, and whenever I go there, I stuff the heck out of, I really give them a bag of workout, and it was like, this thing really held up well, and I could get more in it than some of our other bags. So anyway, that's my latest favorite.
That's cool. Yeah, so you guys can find that on Simple Switch if you need a roll pack, which a lot of us do. Okay, lastly, if you are thinking, wow, I want to support this company and go buy some of their products, you can find that at simpleswitch.org/collections/CAUSEGEAR. But other than buying your products, is there any way that Simple Switch listeners can support you? Is there anything you're working on right now?
Absolutely. So one of our most popular simple ways for people to help us is to become a brand ambassador. And it's a very simple but powerful thing. So a brand ambassador just helps us get the word out through Instagram. And you sign up on our website, become a brand ambassador. There's perks. You get discounts on products because we want to make it easy for you to be a gear carrier, to use our product and to show and tell people.
Yeah.
But more importantly, your role is just to do a couple posts a month and get the word out as to why this is so important and why our work is changing lives.
Awesome.
We value that. So it's really, we're a grassroots company. We're small, and the help of others is key. So we're so grateful for our brand ambassadors.
Very cool. Nice. So it looks like you guys can find that application on CAUSEGEAR's website. It looks like causegear.com/pages/brand ambassador. I'll put that in the show notes as well. We also have a brand ambassador program, and I know firsthand how much that really, really can help a company. So yeah, if you guys are interested, and like you said, their products are gorgeous. So it's a great program to become a part of. Very cool. Awesome. Well, is there anything else that you want to tell us before we sign off here?
No, I just, I'm grateful for this opportunity to talk with you today and all the work that you're doing. And thanks for the listeners and your support.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Brad. This has been a great conversation, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. You too.
Thanks so much for joining me today. If you like this episode, you can support us by leaving a great review, sharing with your friends, and subscribing. Thanks for caring about our planet and the people on it. We'll see you again soon.